Hello and welcome back to the Skipper's View podcast, episode 242. As always, brought to you by Chinook Seedery. Use the code Skipper's View for 10% off your sunflower seed needs. Also, feel free to go check out the website, statsoldier.com, created by Dean Siriaco, our fearless leader. He has created a really cool website out there. You can do analytics, predictions, create your own stats, your own graphics. Really cool website. We're definitely pushing it. You've been seeing it a lot in our tweets recently. And, he put a lot of hard work into it. So I'm going to help him spread the news, because this is one of his babies outside of the Skipper's View. Hagen, we're back to the second episode this week. We were here on Tuesday. The last thing we were talking about was the World Baseball Classic. So I figured that's where we're going to pick it up and conclude this saga of the 2026 WBC. We're obviously a few days late, so everyone knows this. USA lost. Hagen, walk me through, one, what your emotion was, because I was devastated. I think we both were. But, walk me through, were you angry, disappointed with this team, and how the U.S. has to run their baseball team going forward for the WBC in order to secure a championship at the next go-around of this?
I was obviously very disappointed because it's an event too, where it's like my friends who aren't even baseball fans, they all get together, they want to watch the games, they want to text me about the games, they're saying, hey, how's this going on? How's this going on? How's this guy doing all this? So I like it too, because it's people I know that aren't big baseball people are getting into it. And that's how you know it's a big event going on. And I've been hyping up this team for almost a year now, saying they're going to have skins and Scooble. They're going to have this team. It's going to be the best baseball team ever assembled. If they don't win, it's a failure. And it was a failure. We said that before on last episode, that if they do not win, it's going to be a failure. So I was very upset about that game, the way it ended, especially too. I mean, their offense just did absolutely nothing. I know that Eduardo Rodriguez has great numbers against the offense there, but you let Eduardo Rodriguez, who's not a very good pitcher anymore, just carve your lineup there. And then the only bright spot of that game that I really felt that I was very ecstatic for was that Bryce Harper home run. And it sucks that came. I mean, it was obviously a great moment, 8th inning there. But it sucks because that's going to be one of those home runs now that just kind of gets forgotten. People aren't going to talk about this right now people talk about it on how this is a great home run. He put up there, he showed up there, finally showed up, made his big swing there. But in 10 years from now, people are going to say, oh, Venezuela beat U.S., they choked and all this. Everyone's really going to talk about that Bryce Harper home run in the 8th inning to tie the game up there. And just kind of talk about how it ended. So that kind of sucks too. But it was very frustrating at first, but also too, it's talking to my dad about this, where it's kind of hard too. There's a reason why baseball, this is a big reason why you show where baseball plays 7-game series, because they take any regular season game. The Rockies could beat the Dodgers by 10 runs in any regular season game. And you're going to be like, oh yeah, the Rockies, wow, they beat them. But it's like, that's just baseball. Anybody can beat anyone on any given day, especially in this small tournament fashion where how quick things have to go. You might just get some fluky stuff like that where Eduardo Rodriguez looks great. Obviously, I was not a great pitcher anymore, but he was dialed. He wasn't throwing very hard, but he was hitting the spots very, very well. So McClain gave up 2 runs, and that really just all they really needed until the 8th inning when Whitlock gave up the run there in the 9th for the U.S. But it was frustrating. Obviously, one game, anything can really happen. I think the U.S. probably gentleman sweeps that series, maybe 6 games if you get a 7-game series, but that's just a WBC, and it makes it more important on those one-game things, and the U.S. doesn't really get it done, which sucks. Got to wait another 4 years for that.
Yeah, I have so many thoughts on this, but looking back, I don't want to call out players who didn't play in the I'm just looking at it now, and it sucks because I don't want to be the excuse maker for why the U.S. did not win this, because the team was plenty talented and had arguably more talent than any other roster besides maybe the Dominican Republic. That being said, the U.S. has to realize that this is, and maybe they do realize it, maybe from a fan's perspective it doesn't come off that way, but my interpretation of this is are our guys putting in the absolute best roster possible to go in and win this? This is a 1-game baseball playoff. This is not a series. We need everyone, and obviously everyone needs to click at the same time too, because there are plenty of guys on this roster who went quiet during this. And people want to point at Aaron Judge. Sure, was Aaron Judge quiet? They stopped pitching to him arguably in the what do you call it, the group stages. They really stopped honing in on him to give him any pitch to hit. Did he perform to the best of his ability? No, but you could call out many guys who dude, I felt like I saw Kyle Schwarber strike out from his knees like 2 or 3 times in this series. I didn't really hear Cal Raleigh's name a lot. I like Bobby Wood Jr. I thought from the glove perspective was incredible. Bryce Harper had that big home run as you mentioned, but like none of these guys ever all hit together. Like they was always like out of sync. So that's one half of it. The other half of it was like we just need to get all of our guys in. And like I did a really quick scrub before this of guys who were not on the Team USA roster who are American born, at least from my quick research here. Like Garrett Crochet, he's a dog. And to my knowledge, Garrett Crochet, is he American?
Yes, he's American.
He's from Mississippi. I don't know the reason. Why is he not on this team? Yeah, and that's a pitcher that like the U.S. lost Tarek Skubal, so that bumped up Paul Skeens a day, which ended up bumping up Nolan McLean a day. And this is a 23-year-old who we're sending out to verse a veteran. I just thought that was weird. And then if you keep going down the list of like American-born players, Kyle Tucker did not play. Kyle Tucker is one of the best players in baseball. He's not injured either, right? He just signed his contract. So why is Kyle Tucker not playing? You keep going down the list, and the next best player, obviously Corbin Carroll would have played had he not broken the hamate bone, and that would have been a major upgrade. But there are definitely top 30, and where's Mookie Betts from? He is from Nashville, Tennessee. Mookie Betts didn't play. Is Freddie Freeman Canadian or American?
He's Canadian.
So, okay, all right. You get the point, though. There's plenty of big names that did not play for this U.S. roster that, like, I'm looking at the other guys, and every one of these top 25 players in the MLB right now, they all played for their countries. Ketel Marte played. Ronald Acuna Jr. played. Like, Vladimir Guerrero Jr. played. Julio Rodriguez played. They all played for their teams. Why are our top, like, at least guys in the top 25, why are they not all playing for us? Is that a selfish question to ask?
I take a different approach to that because, in my opinion, this team already was the best team. Like, it just, yeah, you can say the team would have been a lot better, and then you could have almost felt like you secured that. But I think I lean more on just like the guys, like you were saying, how you started that. They weren't really hitting at the right time. Like Bryce Harper, before that, he really did nothing. He was hitting in the 2-hole, doing absolutely nothing the entire tournament. Judge was pretty quiet the entire tournament. He was kind of been the fall guy. No one really talks about how Kyle Schwarber went over 4 or 3 strikeouts at the championship game. That wasn't really talked about much because everyone was talking about Aaron Judge and how he continues to choke in big moments. And yes, he does, but everyone was only blaming Aaron Judge like this. Cal Raleigh. I don't know if Cal Raleigh did one good thing offensively the entire tournament. Like, I can't remember one thing he did. The best hitter on the team was 21-year-old Roman Anthony. And I think at this time, too, it's just so hard because guys aren't really fully – they've had their 25 to 30 spring training at-bats. So it's like they're still trying to get into the swing of things early on the season. We see like how many superstars, like Lindor, for example. Physical Lindor every year since he's been on the Mets. It takes him like a month to get going. And he's just not a very good player, hitting-wise at least. And then he starts getting going and he gets in the MVP form again. I think a lot of these guys are just trying to get their timing down, still trying to get the rhythm going, get it perfectly in sync. And like this time of year, pitchers are just kind of ahead of hitters. I think that's kind of what we saw in that championship game too, is that pitching just kind of dominated that game. And obviously there was guys on Venezuela, like Acuna always looked great the entire tournament. There's guys who were dialed already. But I just lean more on the players, not more why are this guy on the team? Why isn't this guy on the team? Especially like a Kyle Tucker thing too, where he had a little bit of an injury last year and then he signs the big deal. Like, I think the Dodgers are an organization they've already shown, like, hey, you can go out and play for there. But I think they probably were saying, we would rather have you stay with us and make sure you're healthy for the season instead of going out and playing there. But like even like Mookie Betts one, where like Mookie Betts, I think a big thing for him probably not playing. Obviously, he was on the last WBC team, was probably like last year. He lost 15 pounds week 1 of the season. He was just fighting an uphill battle the entire season. So I think this year he was trying to like, hey, I'm healthy right now. I'm not going to lose 15 pounds from an illness right now unless anything happens, knock on wood. But I think he's just like, I just want to be going fully healthy into the season. I don't want to have this and try to rush myself at all.
Yeah. We can go all day why the U.S. did not win. They didn't win. Congratulations, Venezuela. Well earned, well deserved. That was a really exciting tournament. And I was going to call it out later in the episode. Might as well just do this stat now. The WBC final on Tuesday between the U.S. and Venezuela averaged 10.7 million domestic viewers. The U.S.-Japan final back in 2023 averaged 5 million. So, and then in 2017, the U.S.-Puerto Rico final drew 3 million. In other words, the final game viewership has grown 300% since 2017. And Bleacher Report had that stat. That's awesome for the game of baseball overall. I cannot complain about that. Love to see that. And I think this WBC is going to get bigger and bigger as more and more teams and guys represent different nations who are here in the MLB. If not, other countries will eventually grow baseball leagues. Hopefully, fingers crossed. It will be good for the game we love.
And I think there's two main reasons for that, like the growth there. I think the first thing is that baseball is just kind of it's booming right now. Like I feel like we're seeing the biggest growth in baseball viewership probably since the steroids and the Bonds and McGuire, the Sosa, like back then when there was that kind of the renaissance of baseball back then. I think we're seeing the biggest increase in viewership since then. I would just assume I don't have the numbers at the top of my head here. And then even too, my other takeaway too is that like baseball too, we have the best players playing this tournament now. Like we're talking about, yes, there's still guys that we could top 25 players, top 20 players, we could still get in this tournament. But every WBC, if you just look back, more and more better players are playing in it. And it's not these guys where it's teams where just they have a couple major leaguers. I mean, you had like 4 or 5 teams, like Team Italy, like they weren't very highly ranked going into the tournament. That was a team of full major leaguers. They were all Italian Americans, yes. None of them were fully Italian, but it's all major league players. And another stat too, I mean, you said the 10.8 million viewers they had in that WBC final there. The average viewership of the NBA finals last year was 10.2 million. The WBC had more viewers than the NBA finals last year, which is very big for basketball, which has been the second biggest sport in America for a very long time now. And obviously, baseball's probably starting to pass it a little bit with NBA's their issues they're having right now, and just their viewership's just kind of been going downhill the last few years.
Yeah, and basketball sucks right now. I used to be the biggest NBA guy, truly was, and then I don't know what it was. It just became every team taking threes, and it got old, and I don't know. But that's great for baseball. Love to see that for America's national pastime. So, a few more things out of the WBC. Maikel Garcia, he wins the MVP award for the event. Huge for him. He just got his extension with the Royals done. He's a name that not a lot of people know, but he's really coming on as like a premier player in this league. He's not a superstar, but he's an all-star. He's very good, and now he's showed out on the world stage, so good for him. This is per the Athletics' Evan Drellich. I hope I'm pronouncing that right. Each player on the winning team of the Tuesday's game, so this was Venezuela who won, will get $100,000 in prize money. So the reason why they're able to give this massive payout, this comes from a streaming service agreement with Netflix. And this was with the WBC for the Japanese broadcast rights. So according to Drellich, the deal was worth over $100 million, and they were able to pay these guys. Huge. He added also that the payouts for all 20 teams playing in the WBC had more than doubled since the last one, just in 2023. So 3 years ago, we're doubling the money. The payouts for the players are just half the total prize money, with the other half going to the respective team. The total haul each respective federation takes home depends on how far it advanced in the tournament. So, a lot of money in baseball right now. Bottom line, WBC, massive success for baseball. Let's jump into a few more things on the hot corner surrounding the MLB as we're 3 days out from opening day. This one I want your opinion on because this is intriguing to me. So Christopher Sanchez signed an extension with the Phillies. I think it was like a year ago. I didn't look into this too much, but they essentially ripped up that deal and he agreed to a brand new 6 years, $107 million deal with the Phillies. He was under contract through 2028 and had $20 million in guarantees. Now he's signed through 2032 and he has an option for 2033, a club option, and there's 107 million guaranteed. So he's being guaranteed almost 80, 90% more. Actually, no. Sorry. That's horrible math. He's almost 4 times of what he was guaranteed before he's getting now. We saw Luzardo now sign. Hey, what's Philly doing? Just securing their pitchers? You think that's really what's going on here?
Yeah, this really comes down to, because if you look at like his last contract, like we talked about, I believe last episode, like this year he was going to get he's going to get $3.5 million. Then like next year it would have been 6.5, then 9.5. And then it was 2 club options at 15 and 16. And like 15 and 16, the highest is going to be 15 is you could argue $50 million underpaid for Christopher Sanchez for how good he is right now. Probably a top 5 pitcher in all of Major League Baseball, whether people know that or not. And I feel like what this is kind of more saying is you're basically getting 2 more years of Christopher Sanchez. Yeah, he's going to be older on the back end too, but he's got a fastball changeup combo. It's not like he needs to throw 99. He's not one of those guys that needs insane velocity to be a very good pitcher in Major League Baseball. So I feel like it was more just Phillies saying, hey, we want 2 more years of you on the back end there. And they'll have the club option too on the back too. So if he does kind of fall off a little bit, they don't have to be tied to that $32 million, whatever it is. And then I think it's even too, I think it's more just my biggest takeaway is they're just kind of doing right by their own guys. They're saying, hey, man, you've meant a lot to our team, our organization. It's been a great success story in how we've developed you. And we just want to give you what you deserve here. We don't want to, there's a lot of guys who are on these small contracts and teams will kind of take advantage of, especially small market teams. But I like when these big market teams go out there and you give their players what they deserve. I mean, Christopher Sanchez, great for him. I mean, he's been a great success story. And I think he's kind of like, it shows, I think, embodies baseball. I'm just like, development is not linear. I know Lewis always puts it out there on Twitter. Like, baseball, development is not linear. Just because you're the top prospect right now does not mean you struggle for a few years, doesn't mean you're not going to be good ever again. We saw like Jerkson Profar. Yes, bad example because he had the steroids now, but it took him like 10 years to really pan out after being the number 1 prospect in baseball, become like an all-star and be a really good player again and get that big contract. He was pretty mid. He wasn't really that great of a player for 10 years. Kind of a role player, replacement level player. And then he gets his big contract. Obviously, the steroids kind of threw it all away. So that sucks, but it's not linear. And I think Christopher Sanchez is a great story of that.
Yeah, Christopher Sanchez has been top 10 Cy Young the last 2 years, including the runner-up last year in the National League. He's also 15th in MVP voting. So if you don't know him, go watch his highlights. He's a dog. Totally deserved this. I just thought it was interesting. Right before the season, and you just locked down Luzardo right before this, and we're talking about all the money they've been spending, the extension for Real Muto, they obviously Schwarber. Philly's spending, and it's interesting because they're just, besides Luzardo and Sanchez, everyone else is kind of like older or like, okay, this is really the last run with Philly. But speaking of extensions, let's jump to the number 1 prospect in baseball, Connor Griffin and the Pirates. They're right now, he's 19 years old, talking long-term extension. So I personally have not gotten to watch a whole ton of Connor Griffin, but I've heard a lot about Connor Griffin, obviously. Are you wearing a Pirates hat, by the way, right now?
I am, yes.
Okay, that's a sick hat.
Thank you.
Griffin he's a dog, right? And I obviously, if he debuts on the opening day roster, he would be the first teenager to make his MLB debut since Ken Griffey back in 1989. This is before I was born. So 32, 30, I'm 32, born 93. This is almost 36, 37 years since this has happened. And it doesn't sound like that long ago because it's Ken Griffey Jr. But Hagen, I don't think you ever even got to watch Ken Griffey Jr., did you?
No, I was too young. Even when he was older and on the Reds and stuff, I was a little too young for that. So I only know like him playing on the Reds from MLB The Show. That's how I found out about that. Cause I just grew up knowing Ken Griffey Jr. As a Mariner. Playing MLB The Show, I realized, he put on the Reds in like 2008, whatever it was. But a little past my time there, or a little before my time, excuse me. And I think on Connor Griffin, though, it's awesome to see them Pirates already trying to do this too, especially trying to lock down a core. Obviously, they made probably the best offseason they had in a very, very long time, trying to help Paul Skeens out, trying to show at least some effort, whether it's the best effort. I don't think they're a playoff team by any means yet, but they're at least trying more. That's all people really wanted was at least do something. Please spend money. Don't just waste Paul Skeens. They're at least putting themselves in a chance to at least try to make the playoffs, then possibly go on around with Paul Skeens, because you get Paul Skeens in the bump in a playoff game. You're feeling good about that against literally anybody. You feel like you have a very strong advantage against anybody in baseball. But it's awesome to see them already talking about the Connor Griffin. Especially he's probably going to buy out a couple of his years of free agency too, which would be very, very good. And it does suck too, though. Like you said, he would have been the first teenager to debut since Ken Griffey Jr. It sucks we're not going to see that because there was news, I think, just fairly recently I saw that the Pirates are going to start him in AAA this year, which has upset a lot of people that I saw. Obviously, I think a lot of people thought he's, clearly the best option there at shortstop right now. But I think it's the Pirates being the Pirates. I thought that's what we're going to do all offseason is they're just going to try to manipulate the service time here, get that extra year of him. They're probably going to wait to call him up until they feel comfortable enough to where he's not going to win the Rookie of the Year anymore, because they can call him up after the 2 weeks and manipulate the service time. But then if he ends up winning the Rookie of the Year with the way the PPI works now in MLB Major League Baseball, if he wins the Rookie of the Year after they manipulate the service time, he's just going to get the service time right back. And that's what happened with Paul Skeens a few years ago. And you don't make the same mistake twice. If you do that same mistake twice, fire the GM. get him out because that is an awful thing. You got to be all in. You're on the opening day roster, or you don't call him up until he's not going to win the Rookie of the Year. And obviously, it helps a lot because you have Nolan McLean, who's could get Cy Young votes this year as a rookie. That helps out a lot there. And JJ Weatherholt probably made the opening day roster, but it's probably going to be at least a month before you see Connor Griffin in the big leagues.
Yeah, the one big thing I'm taking away from this is if they get a deal done, they're just simply learning from their counterparts down in Los Angeles. And Paul Skeens, it's been, he hasn't said anything about leaving Pittsburgh, but obviously it's very well known that he's a winner. He wants to win. He just commented, like, his first quote after the WBC was, I think a reporter asked him, and don't quote me exactly how he said it, but a reporter asked him, how was your experience at the WBC? And he's like, not good enough, because he was pissed that they lost. And there's a reason why he transferred out of Air Force. The guy he seems so military focused, like his background and everything. That's why he went to Air Force in the first place. And then he realized, I'm not going to win a World Series, like a College World Series here. Goes to LSU and goes and gets it done. I don't think he's afraid to make the executive decision to leave Pittsburgh, should push come to shove. And I think this is Pittsburgh showing, like, hey, let's get this guy in. He's the number one prospect in baseball. Let's guarantee him he's here for X amount of years playing alongside Paul Skeens. And then, we have no idea how many of these little deals, if they copy the Alex Anthopoulos route, they can go ahead and get an extension to Bowman Chandler, depending on how he performs later this year. They could do the same thing with Braxton Ashcraft. There's plenty of young talent to, like, sell Paul Skeens on, like, we're going to ride or die with you because we think you're that good. And, like, Paul Skeens overall, I can't say what Connor Griffin's going to become. He's 19, but, like, Paul Skeens has already won a Cy Young award, and he's 24 years old. If that,
24 years old, and he has a Cy Young 1 and a Cy Young 2 in his rookie year. It's the best pitching start we arguably have ever seen in Major League Baseball history.
Yeah, so I'm not saying Griffin's not going to be better than Skeens at one point, but right now it's like Skeens is 100% the best player on that team, and it's going to be really hard to top considering his start to his MLB career. So would love to see that for Pittsburgh. Let's talk about some news and notes going on in the league about people again making the opening day roster and people getting sent down to AAA because it's that time of the year. Jason Dominguez of the Yankees, the Martian, was sent down to AAA. And this kind of sucks. He had a really strong spring, Hagen. So he's 23 years old. He batted .325, went 13 for 40 with 2 doubles, 3 homers, 10 RBIs, and 3 stolen bases across 14 games for the Yankees in spring training. And the other side of that news, before we talk about the Yankees outfield depth, and I don't know if it's an issue or it's just something they got to deal with, Randall Grichuk, who they just signed, is going to make the opening day roster. They're sending Oswaldo Cabrera down to the minors. So Grichuk makes the roster. Trent Grisham got the qualifying offer for $18 million. He ain't getting put anywhere. He's starting in center field. If not Cody Bellinger and Trent Grisham starts in left field. And then you have Aaron Judge who's playing right field. And even with Grichuk, if he's batting well, or if he's supposedly just going to be a platoon guy, you still got to deal with Giancarlo Stanton. So, and then Spencer Jones is lingering in the back of my head here. So it's like, what do the Yankees do? Like, what would you do? Would you trade one of these prospects, or would you just wait till for one of them to blossom and then call them up and kind of go from there to kind of maybe move one of the veteran bats who have, and all of them now, we know Judge, Stanton, Trent Grisham, and Cody Bellinger. I don't know all the opt-outs on all 4 of them, and obviously they're never trading Aaron Judge. But you know what I mean? They're all owed a lot of money. There's none of them who aren't owed a lot of money.
Yeah, it's kind of hard too, especially because you have such a good outfield. You could argue probably one of the best. You could argue honestly the best outfield in all Major League Baseball. Probably from a WAR perspective, it will be because you have Aaron Judge there right now. But Judge and Bellinger, those guys are long-term signed. Those are your corner outfielders for the next 7 years, whatever it is, however the contracts are. But Grisham, the qualifying offer, I think that one they just didn't expect him to re-sign that, and that kind of made it a hard situation in the first place, and they needed Bellinger to bring him back. So you have him. Obviously, he's only be here for 1 year. I don't think they'll re-sign him long-term. So I don't think you trade any of the Dominguez or Spencer Jones just because you have a spot opening up next year. And the year after that, you'll have a spot opening up with Giancarlo Stanton's contract coming to an end too. But it's just more my way I look at this is just the roster construction where I'm not saying it's like a bad by any means. It's just I don't think they thought Giancarlo Stanton was going to become, he couldn't run and he's not going to play at all when they traded for him, whatever, 8 years ago, whatever it was. But it just sucks when you have a guy who's still a really good hitter too. Like Giancarlo Stanton, when he plays, he's still a very, very good hitter in Major League Baseball. The issue is when he's not in the field. But when he still plays, he's there. He clogs up the DH spot. You can't play anyone else in the DH. And already, like we talked, that's why Ben Rice, who's an awful catcher, he has to catch 40 games this year, whatever it is, he's going to catch. Just because you need his bat in the lineup, because you could argue he's the second best hitter on the team right now, Ben Rice, even for how young he is. And so you kind of have like just a clog right now. So the way I viewed this was more of just like Jason Dominguez doesn't have that many at bats. They've kind of screwed him over the last 2 years. They haven't given him any consistent playing time, and he still has more development to do at the major league level. So I just viewed this as more of, we're going to send you down to AAA. We just want you to get consistent at bats every single day. Just make sure you're developing too, working on some things you need to work on there. Defense is probably a big thing too. They want him to work on a little bit too, because he's had some struggles there last couple of years there. So I think it's more just, hey man, injury happens, you're going to come right up. You're already on the 40-man roster. We can call you back up. He still has 2 options left, up one after this year. But after that, Spencer Jones obviously too, another guy too that you could call up at any point, like you said too. But I think it was more just them saying, hey man, we just want consistent at bats. And then you get like a Randall Grichuk, you bring him in instead, who that guy can crush left-handed pitching. It's a great bat to have off the bench late in the games. If there's a lefty on the mound and you need to get out a day off, it is him too. So I like that better there. I think Grichuk's kind of the better 5th outfielder, 4th outfielder, whatever you want to call it. Whatever you want to call it there, just because, hey, he's going to be great off the bench too. He's still a very good player. I know he had a down year last year, but cheap contracts too. It's not like you're tied to a full financial constraint where Jason Dominguez is looking phenomenal. I think they're going to say, hey, we have the at-bats for you. We will cut ties with Randall Grichuk and bring you back up.
Dean Kramer for Baltimore is the odd man out of the rotation, so the O's send him to the minors. They're going to roll with Trevor Rogers, Kyle Bradish, Shane Baz, Chris Bassett, and Zach Eflin. Do you think that they should have went 6-man rotation? Are you surprised Dean Kramer didn't get in over any of those 5 guys? This was like a very hot, like talked about subject for the last few weeks that the O's had added to the pitching staff and who they're going to roll with.
I thought they were going to run 6-man, honestly, especially once you added Bassett. Like when they added Bassett, I thought it was a for sure thing they were going to run the 6-man rotation. I really don't care much about Dean Kramer getting sent down to AAA. I don't think he's that good of a pitcher in the first place. I don't think he's that good of a 5, honestly, too. I'm just not really a Dean Kramer type of guy. Obviously, he can be a major league pitcher. I just don't think he's very quality. So it doesn't bother me as much at all. And obviously, too, they just add to the depth because they have major league level pitchers down there in AAA now.
All right. I thought I was going to get more out of you on that one, but that's fine. No, because I tend to agree. So another AL East pitching situation. Trey Savage, he's going to open the season on the IL with shoulder impingement. The Phillies, they have interesting news. This is kind of one where we all saw it coming just due to the uncertainty of Zach Wheeler. Andrew Painter, he is a top 30 prospect according to MLB Pipeline. He's going to make the Phillies opening day roster, and his MLB debut is set for March 31st. Excited to see that because I have him rostered in multiple dynasty leagues. Washington's Dylan Cruz. So Paul Skeens' old teammate, he was the number 2 pick back in the 2023 draft. He's optioned AAA. Cruz, he slashed 103, 206, 103 with a 309 OPS in his first 12 Grapefruit League games. Hagen, are we starting to get concerned about Dylan Cruz and being potentially a bust pick, or is it still too early?
I think it's way too early, in my opinion, to say that. I can see why people are obviously saying that. Obviously, it's been because we forget too. Like at the time of the draft, you talk about how Paul Skeens is like his generational talent. He was one of the best pitching prospects I've ever seen. It wasn't a sure thing that Paul Skeens should be the number 1 pick. There was a true debate on should it be Dylan Cruz or Paul Skeens the number 1 pick. Like that's how good this guy is, how talented this guy is. Like I think a lot of people forget that it wasn't just Skeens is the number 1 pick. Like it was looking like Cruz for most of the year was going to be the number 1 pick, and then ended up being Paul Skeens. But I think this is more just the Nationals saying, we just want to get you right. Go get your confidence back. Whatever you need to do on. There's obviously clear things he needs to work on. Take him there. Obviously in the Nationals lineup right now too, it's kind of like there's not that many guys around him too. So like if you can kind of attack guys whoever you want, like you don't have to be like, oh, we have to pitch this guy. We have to do this. Like, you don't have to pitch Dylan Cruz by any means. It's not like you have to pitch around guys. James Wood, like we saw last year, that's the reason why I think he struggled is because he was crushing it and they said, we don't have to pitch to anybody else in this lineup. Let's just pitch around James Wood. You don't have to, no one else worries us here. No one else in this lineup worries us. So I think it's just them just trying to get things figured out with him. I wouldn't say the bust thing yet. I would still honestly give him. I give guys a long time. Like I still believe in like a Jared Kelnick. I know he's like
Oh
30,
no.
33 now. I still believe in him. Like I will believe in Dylan Cruz until he's about like 30 years old. I would give it at least another year and a half, 2 years before I would start to say like it was a bust.
So I was not planning on talking about Jared Kelenic on this episode, but I think I've said it before for all those people listening and want to understand my relationship with Jared Kelenic. So back in the day, took him in the keeper league, kept him in that keeper league as like a 5th-round pick. Terrible mistake. And I got rode hard for it by Dean and his dad and everyone else in that league. This morning, and I can't make this up, I get a text from Dean and his dad about Jared Kelenic not making the White Sox and roster, and he's going to be sent down. That's hard to still believe in Jared Kelenic, dude. Like he seems like he's like it seems to me like Billy Bean, just inside his own head. Like he's got the talent, but um, I this is funny to me, this whole Dylan Cruz Skeens thing, because like how funny is it that like Pittsburgh is kind of coming a pitching factor right now with like Jones, Keller, Ashcraft, Chandler, Seth Hernandez, the list goes on. And their hitting is questionable. They had to go sign a bunch of guys this offseason to like be competitive. And the Nationals, who have they just stink, but like their pitching looks horrible. And they totally could have used the Paul Skeens and like Dylan Cruz. It would have been sense at the time too, I guess, but technically not to go get Dylan Cruz as the #1 overall pick for the Pirates. So it's like how funny, how the turntables, in the words of Michael Scott here, if these two teams just simply like went other routes, like the Pirates went with Cruz and the Nationals went with Skeens. I don't know, something interesting to think about. Boston, they added Tommy Kahnle, veteran reliever. He got a minor league deal. He's been pitching for Team Israel in the WBC, so he can be put on the 40-man pretty easily, I think. And he's obviously an MLB competent reliever. We mentioned last episode, but they just signed Danny Colom as well, the Red Sox. The Red Sox are really trying to bolster that bullpen right now. One little segment before our last takes that I want to talk about is our MLB breakouts. And what Hayden and I did, we both picked a pitcher. We both picked a hitter that we think is going to break out this year. So, Hagen, I'm going to let you go first with your pitcher and why.
Very surprisingly, I picked Mets for both of my guys here, which is funny enough, but I was going to go Sean Manaea here. I know it's not a breakout, but I was all in on him being back and being the ace that he was in 2024. And then he just has not looked good this spring. I've just kind of fallen off the pick. He's throwing 4 miles an hour slow right now, not even throwing 90 miles an hour, which sucks. So I'm going to go with a name I don't think – he became a very popular name this spring for a good reason, too. Ryan Lambert in the New York Mets. He's a reliever. He's going to start in probably AAA this year, but he's going to be a big part of this Mets bullpen come August, September. I mean, you could almost view him as a trade acquisition. This guy is very, very good. I feel very confident this guy is going to become the Mets' long-term closer. He's going to be there at high leverage very, very soon. If you do not know who Ryan Lambert is, electric fastball. He's going to go over to the big leagues. He's going to have probably a top 20 fastball right away. Deadly slider off of it too. Great reliever. This dude throws absolute flames. He's got that psycho in like the closer relievers that you need. Just he's got that psycho in him on those guys that you like there. He's going to be a great thing for the Mets this year. He's going to develop a little bit, but when the Mets need a high leverage arm, he's going to come up, and I feel like he's one of those guys that can come up and immediately serve a 7th inning, 8th inning role for the Mets and succeed very likely in that. Got you on mute.
Sorry, I said I like it. A little bias, but appreciate that. My pitcher breakout, I'm going with a guy in the same division, but not on the Mets. I'm going with Yuri Perez. Over his final 79 1/3 innings last year, he had a 3.86 ERA, and he had a dominant .96 whip. He struck out 91 batters in that time and only walked 22. So we keep talking about Peter Bendix, how we think he's really going to get this team up to a playoff team at some point. And everywhere I'm reading, it's like bold predictions. Marlins make the playoffs, or, Marlins do this, Marlins do that. Yuri Perez, he's young, he's talented. He he showed us that he could do this. And I think he could replicate it all season long. I think he's going to be the breakout for the NL East in their arms this year. Let's talk about your hitter.
It's not really a breakout. I'm going to call this one a breakout because he has not been good.
Oh my, you picked another Met. Dude, you love your Mets.
I love my Mets. This one is I would have picked him no matter where he went. I would have picked him here. Luis Robert Jr. I have been all in on this guy on a bounce back since like the start of last year. I was in on him being my bounce back. And I call it a breakout because this guy has been an awful baseball player for 2 years now. He went from an MVP talent to an awful baseball player. I am so bought in on him, leaving the White Sox, leading a place that you show up to work for 2 years straight. We figured this guy was on one of the worst teams in baseball history. He shows up to work for 2 years every single day, expecting to lose. He was not bought in. You can question the character a little bit. I can see that a little bit, but he wasn't bought in. He was on an awful team. He was the only one that people had to pitch around on that team for 2 years. You go to a team now where he's going to be hitting fifth behind Francisco Lindor, Juan Soto, Bo Bichette, and Jorge Polanco. Like, this dude is going to be amazing. He already crushes left-handed pitching. He always has. I am so ready for him. He's healthy right now, too. The Mets held him. They've been very careful with him. It's almost like the Ferrari, I guess is the way they describe him is. There's a lot of good things coming out in camp. They're being very careful with him. They didn't let him play in spring training games for the first 2.5 weeks because they're like, hey, man, we need you to build some strength in your lower half. We need you to stay stronger here. We need you for a full 162. And I am just so bought in on him. He is my non-biased. I know he was the Mets and the Phillies were kind of the two teams looking to get him. If he was a Philly, he would still be my number one. Like, I am all in on this guy. I'm a huge LRJ fan, and I think he still has the MVP potential in him, and I feel like we're going to see some of that this year.
I have to. I don't disagree with your take. I disagree with your definition of breakout because Luis Robert is broken out already. Like, he's a well-known commodity in this league. But I get what you're saying. Like, I think that he is. I think he was a Ferrari engine sitting somewhere in a Subaru factory, not where he was supposed to be. He was misshipped to some other team, and now he's finally been delivered to the team that he should, or the client that he should have been with. So, I like it. I went with someone a little bit younger. I'm going with Cam Smith, 23-year-old for the Houston Astros. And for those who haven't been paying attention, Hagen, name to me the Houston starting outfielders that you can name right now.
It's going to be Cam Smith's going to be starting out there. You're going to have Yordan Alvarez at DH or left field, Jose Altuve, whichever one of those two isn't playing out there. You're going to have Zach Cole, I believe, is going to be on the bench.
And they just traded for him back from Toronto. They had him and shipped him to
Joey
Toronto.
Loperfido.
Yeah. And there's, we know Altuve can play the outfield. We know Yordan Alvarez has been injured, but he's supposed to be back. I see him playing more DH, honestly, because of that injury. The outfield has a lot of question marks for Houston. Cam Smith is the reason why I think they're confident in why they didn't go and be aggressive to go get veteran help. They could have gone Randall Grichuk. They could have gone, plenty of outfielders that were available to sign this offseason. And they could have gotten him for a relatively cheap price. Instead, they stood still. And the reason why I think they did that, because Cam Smith, he turned 23 in February. So a little bit over a month ago, this guy turned 23. Same age as Jason Dominguez. He's a year or two older than Roman Anthony, who is a dog. He's super young. He was 8 for 9 on the base pass last year, stealing bases. Didn't play a full season of games. And on top of that, he put up a 1.9 B WAR. And I think that Cam Smith is going to turn some heads this year. I think that he's like their secret weapon that we don't know about, even though we do. But I'm talking about like on a national perspective, like Cam Smith is very under the radar. I think he's going to be incredible. So I'm going to go with Cam Smith as my breakout for the Houston Astros.
And I really like that pick too, especially because it's like this. He almost hides in that Houston team. Like, he kind of hides in there with all the big names that they have there, especially the infield. They have a loaded infield right now. And then some good outfielders too. Altuve and Yordan Alvarez, who's, when he's healthy, Yordan Alvarez is probably one of 3 guys in the entire world you would not want to face with the game on the line. Like, he's just terrifying.
He might be the scariest man in the box, besides Ohtani or Judge.
He probably is. It's probably, he goes to Ohtani, Judge, and then it's, I think, probably a little bit down, and then it's Soto and Yordan, I think.
Pissed off Bryce Harper. But yeah, you got Christian Walker in this lineup. Isaac Paredes is in this lineup. They got Jeremy Pena. Like Cam Smith, the other side of this, what I thought was a benefit, this guy does not have a lot of stress. Like, besides keeping his job, there's not a lot of stress to perform, like, incredibly. Like, look at Jason Dominguez. Same, I hate to bring it back to the Yankees. I know people are, like, looking at my Yankee happy, like, this asshole. Jason Dominguez has had the weight of the world put on his shoulders since he's been 16 years old. Cam Smith is, like, cakewalked all the way up to 22 years old, where, like, we just started to learn his name. Think about that. The pressure to perform is just not as great. And I think with the lack of pressure, this guy is going to flourish because he's an awesome baseball player, and he's a very talented hitter. So that's my pick. Let's talk about some last takes. And I did see a article from Bleacher Report regarding the top earners for the MLB in 2026. Did you see this article by Paul Kasabian?
I did not see the article, but I did see the numbers on the top earners and everything.
So, just so people understand this deferment and what the craziness about Shohei Ohtani money is, Shohei Ohtani next year is going to make $127 million. Only two of that 127 is coming from his contract. The other 125 is coming from endorsements and sponsors. Let that sink in. $125 million from sponsors and endorsements in 1 year. And this guy's going to be making, I think, 20 some odd million a year after 20, like for the next 20 years after his baseball career is done. Just from his contract.
More than that. It's going to be the 10 years after his contract is over, he's going to get $68 million a year.
What do you even do with that type of money every year? Like, buy a new island every year and make a new golf course, and
you have an interpreter gamble it. That's what I think you do.
Oh yeah, that's right.
I think just kind of show how crazy that how much money that is. Like, obviously, I think sometimes in baseball, like, I just think of, like, there's so many big money contracts and all this money. You kind of just you don't really think about it. Like, you almost get immune to, like, how much money that is. Like, Shohei Ohtani, he's going to become the fourth athlete in the history of the world to make $100 million or more in sponsorships in a single year, joining Steph Curry, Roger Federer, and Tiger Woods. That's the list.
I'm surprised Messi and Cristiano Ronaldo are not on those lists.
I was like that and LeBron maybe too. Like, I was surprised.
Yeah.
But it just shows how elite company this is to be having $100 million in sponsorship.
I can't believe Steph Curry's getting that and LeBron's not, actually. But nevertheless, some other guys on this list, I'm just going to run through the top 10. Cody Bellinger is the second highest earner in baseball now. He's going to make $55 million from his salary and another $2.5 million from endorsements. Kyle Tucker, $56.5 million total. Again, $1.5 million from endorsements. The one thing I thought this was weird, Aaron Judge is fifth on this list, so he's behind Bellinger now. $49 million, $40 in salary, $9 in endorsements. So after Ohtani with the 125, the next highest on this entire list of the top 15 guys making money is Aaron Judge and Bryce Harper. They're both making about $9 million from endorsements. So no one is even making more than $10 million in endorsements besides Ohtani in baseball right now. Interesting stuff. Go check it out. It's a really good article. That's Bleacher Report. Paul Kasabian, spelled Kasabian. Go read his article. It's good stuff. We talked about the WBC. So our last thing before we close out, let's talk about our last division and its rotational rankings. I think we're pretty similar on a lot of these. So we're talking about the AL West today. Hagen, we're both dead last in the Angels. So Grayson Rodriguez, news this week about him as well. Did you see that? Where I think he might be banged up a little bit.
Yeah, Mike Elias might be smart after all for trading him.
Yeah. So poor Grayson Rodriguez, Ferrari engine with Subaru tires, and the Angels, I think, made a bad deal. It looks like we don't know yet, but it looks like it's the beginning of the end for this. And the Angels, their rotation, it's just not impressive. Who's the best starter in the Angels rotation right now, in your opinion?
Reed Detmers is going to be the best. That's why I would say he's probably going to be the best this year. But, like, that's also a guy last year who was pitching in the bullpen for the majority of the year.
It's a it's sad because the Angels are in Los Angeles. It kind of sucks that like they're in the same city as the Dodgers, and they're like at least the Mets and the Yankees, they're like not winning together right now. Like the Angels are so the little brother, it's not even funny. It's like one brother is the Heisman Trophy winner, and the other brother got like a C plus in geometry class. Like that's the difference between the Angels and the Dodgers right now. I don't know, at least from my opinion.
One of them is the most
Let's talk about the
incompetent
Athletics.
organization
The
in
next,
sports. The other one's probably the best organization in sports. I mean, it's probably the biggest like little brother, big brother that I have in sports right now.
it's it's for sure up there. Let's talk about the fourth. We both have the Athletics as four. Luis Severino's the ace in the staff. Are you at all concerned about the Athletics
I mean, pitching's just always going to be their issue. Like I think just we know that
and their
lineup is
staff?
one of the best. This issue is always going to be the pitching for them. I think I would probably argue the Angels are better if you included their bullpen into this too, because just how there's not that many names in that bullpen right now. But I think you just look like Severino. I feel good about, but also like Severino's not really an ace by any means, but he's the ace for this team. Obviously, he looked phenomenal in WBC. He looked the best he's honestly looked since 2018 when he got Cy Young votes. If him, Jeffrey Springs is going to be healthy too, which I think a lot of people forget how good he was with the Rays when he was healthy, but also he just had his health issues there. Savali, I think it's a good guy there. I mean, just kind of eat innings there. But I think like the big thing for the A's is for how good this lineup is, they just need guys to just almost keep them in games. You don't need a guy to go out there and give you a 3.5 ERA. Yes, that'd be amazing. I think their big issue is just more just if we can have a guy go out there every fifth day and just keep us in the game every single day, we have an offense that can put up 10 runs on any given night. That's all I need, in my opinion.
Mm-hmm. Well said. Next, this is where our only differential is 2 and 3. You have Houston as your number 3. I have the Texas Rangers. So do you want to make a case against the Houston? I'll make a case against the Rangers.
Yeah, this one was, I feel like it was more just I was just really buying into the Rangers maybe a little too strongly here, just maybe a slight bias there. But I think, like, obviously the Astros, you have a top 10 pitcher in baseball in Hunter Brown, which is great. I just don't really know what you're going to get out of Christian Javier, and Tetsuya Imai. I was really in on Imai. I thought he was going to get like $100 million this offseason, $150 million. But obviously, he hasn't looked great this spring. The stuff hasn't looked as good as I thought it was going to look. And I like Mike Burrows as a breakout pick, too. But it's like, I think there's so many guys I just don't really know what I'm going to get from there. Like McCullers. That dude, I have not known what he's going to do ever since 2022. I have no clue what that guy is going to be. If he's healthy, if he's going to be good, if he's going to be bad. I have no clue. So I don't know how to really gauge him by any means right now. Burrows, I think, is just a lot to pick on a breakout right now to put them above the Rangers, in my opinion. And then Amai, too. I just think he's such a question mark because we saw him come into the free agency and we saw that he was rumored to get $200 million going into the free agency. And he gets pretty much a $27 million one-year deal pretty much. Like, it was just kind of like, I just view that as like 30 teams looked at him and they said, you're not worth the money we all think you are after doing our deep dives into you. Or they're just saying we need to see it with the health issues. So I just went the Rangers above them. And my reason for the Rangers, too, honestly, big reason why was because obviously you have Jacob deGrom and Nathan Eovaldi at the top of the rotation there. It's probably the oldest duo, like oldest best 1-2 duo in all of Major League Baseball right now. But like Nathan Eovaldi, people forget this guy was probably number 2 in the Cy Young last year until he got hurt. I think if you go down to 140 innings, he was the ERA leader last year, sub-2 ERA. Jacob deGrom, still a top 10 pitcher on the planet. Anytime deGrom's pitching, you are going to feel very, very good. I know he's not the old deGrom. Jacob deGrom is still very, very elite. You add Mackenzie Gore into there now. I mean, the thing for him is just going to be the second half. How can he look in the second half? Can the Rangers figure out that this guy's always been an all-star pitcher in the first half? It's just the second half when he starts building up. What is his issue? I think the Rangers, they find something in there. I don't think you go target a guy like Mackenzie Gore if you don't have a fix for it and you think why you can change that and maybe a different result going forward there too. Then in the background too, you're going to like Jack Leiter too. You're going to have him there as a 4. And then the 5 is probably going to be a little more of a revolving door there. Maybe Kumar Rocker at some point this year. I don't really know. He just seems to be looking very good. Then he doesn't look very bad. But I just really like the 1, 2, and 3 right now for Texas. And obviously Grom's on the team.
Yeah, I'll say this. I looked at the guys like with the big question marks because I think Houston does have more question marks. Rangers don't have as many options. Houston has more question marks though, and obviously Christian Javier, great call. What Christian Javier are we getting? Hunter Brown had his best season to date. What are the odds he repeats it? Spencer Arrighetti, I think he's a very intriguing guy. 171 strikeouts back in 2024, and he did it across 145 innings, I believe. He's been injured. Tatsuya Mai is his first time pitching in the MLB. I think Mike Burrows, though, is really going to answer some questions. I think Mike Burrows is super talented there at the back end. I'm hoping Arrighetti pulls it all together. And with that, I just think that the Houston Astros, and then we don't know what McCullers is going to do either. So I think they just have a lot of guys that can throw out there and it works out versus like right now, they're probably going to get blech out of some of these guys, but I think a lot more are going to have that back end stuff for them versus the lack of depth on the Rangers rotation. And that's why I went with the Houston Astros above them. And finally,
I think that's fair to say too.
Sorry.
I think it's fair to say too with the depth too, because it's not even, that's like the lack of depth mixed with the age too of the rotation there too. Like Jacob deGrom has one arm injury. He's 38 years. He's gonna be 38 years old this year. He's one injury away from being done. Like if that dude has to get Tommy John again, he's probably not pitching again in Major League Baseball. You have Nathan Eovaldi, who's going to be 36 this year. He's also dealt with his health injuries this year in the past. I mean, if one of those guys goes out for the season, I know these guys are still very, very good Major League level pitchers, but if even one of those guys goes out for an extended period of time, that already hurts a ton because after then you're going to have like a Jack Leiter really, really take his next step forward. And Mackenzie Gore, he can't fall off in the second half if that happens. So it's a mix of like depth and just kind of your two best pitchers are just very old.
That too. And I was trying not to be ageist with it. Because obviously you could pick on a bunch of the Astro staff is either coming off injury prone, significant injury, all in the last 2-3 years. So, and they're all older now. And so that's it for our rotational rankings. We are 3 days away from the season. Thank you for listening. Follow us on social media. Rate us 5 stars if you think we deserve it. It helps us grow. Grab your merch from the store and read some of our articles that will be on the website. They're all free. If you subscribe to be a Premier member, it's $5 a month. We have no ads on any sort of platform, and we will never do ads. We just, help us writers grow our platform. Anything else from you, Hagen, before we close out?
Just excited. We got baseball here this week. Obviously, I kind of like the inaugural game they're doing this year. It's kind of a weird matchup with the Yankees-Giants, but I really love the idea of having kind of one big game the day before opening day and then having that. I really love the idea of that. I think it's something they should do going forward, but I'm very excited for baseball to be back. It kind of felt like the World Series just ended. We were talking about the World Series Game 7. That felt like it was just a month ago, it felt like, honestly. But very, very excited to have meaningful baseball back this week. I'm very excited to be locked in on the Mets, Major League Baseball, see how guys are looking on new teams. This is the best time of year. I mean, this is, besides October when you get the playoff baseball, this is the best time of year right now.
I agree. Most guys are healthy right now. Hopefully we don't hear any other news before the season kicks off here. I don't anticipate we will, but you never know. Outside of that, be well. Thank you again, as always, for listening, and bye.